Moon Platoon, did you want 50% profits on your investment? Well, I got the solution for you. We have the GME war game, the new DD suggested by Sitting Bull. Good morning. Did you already discuss the GME war game, the new theory of everything, my final DD from our superstock? Not quite yet, but luckily we have it right here in front of us. The GME war game, the new theory of everything, and their final DD from Blanderson Snooper. Very cool username. Make sure to give them a hearty thumbs up on their post. Find it in the description down below and follow along because it's going to be a doozy. And make sure, if you do make sure to stick all the way until the end, I will say that I'm going to be proudly giving you a big thumbs up, and the first 100 comments I'm going to be reading through and responding to. Yes, that's right. The first 100 comments I'm going to be responding to on this video. It's a brand new thing. I'm trying it out. Let's see what we can do when we get there. So first of all, getting this video up to 1,300 likes. Commenting which like you were is going to be helpful. Commenting down below, whichever it is, I'm going to be responding. And we're going to get started. Nothing in this post should be assumed to accuse anyone of anything. This is their theory of everything. Their Charlie Day DD. This is, they think, the blueprint of getting us through these last few agonizing days. Sorry, it's walls of text, but they think that you'll enjoy. This is only going to be a meme. This is the only meme. Dude, I haven't even gotten to the squeeze. Me looking in the mirror. This, in all likelihood, is going to be their final statement on the matter until new information comes to light. They've been working on it since the evening of 4/19, and it's enough to carry me through to the squeeze. They hope people will pick up where they left off, hack it apart, fill it in, and improve it, but they think that they are done producing DD. They're going to be back to talk about it though. So they could never leave this community. They are 34 hours into writing this, and it's the longest they haven't checked new post Reddit in months. Can't wait to see what they've missed for the past 3 months. They wake up and log in and don't log out until they sleep. So exercising better, making sure they're taking care of themselves. Good. We want to make sure that apes support apes, apes stronger together. So war for the Reddit of the apes. There is a key point we haven't missing that explains pretty much everything. But as usual, it requires a F-ton of words to get to it. If they're right, they expect to know sooner rather than later. They have pages of evidence and dozens of screenshots that will curate and release as necessary. But they think they're doing their part by protecting individuals' privacy. They think that what they're about to post here will give you the tools to draw your own conclusions. Standard disclaimer. The key point in this, what's happening with GME, is not a war between retail and Citadel. It is a war game between Citadel and BlackRock, organized and refereed by the government. We are not the soldiers, we are the battlefield. Let's talk about what's already happened. What's happening with GME is not a war between retail and Citadel, it's a war between Citadel and BlackRock. When I say BlackRock and Citadel, they are talking about affiliated institutions as well. They refer to them as the goods and the bads. The goods and the bads both have shill active in all social and mainstream media and are well in control of our communities. The goods have controlled the media as much as Citadel, not to fool apes, but to keep paper-handed normies from falling into Kenny's traps over and over again. All of the guiding DD in our communities is being produced by shills, both good and bad. That said, the goods are not on our side, so much as we have mutual enemies and mutually beneficial goals. They are using shill techniques because the rules of the proxy war forbid anyone to reveal themselves. Recent events have been forced the goods to show their hand as much as possible in order to hold apes together just a little longer than they had planned. And 8, it is crucial that during this phase, we apes take an active role in learning who to trust and who not to. They think that the goods have been giving us the tools to do so. So as a reminder, now that they're talking about goods and bads, this generally is talking about short whales and long whales, right? People who have a lot of money to move around that either want to see the stock succeed or see the stock flop. So as of right now, take that with a grain of salt, because we have seen DD that said that we shouldn't rely on long whales even if they do exist. So thank you PP for the super chat, and let's continue. Ultimate conclusion. Diamond hands means diamond mind. Practice your psychological karate, buy and hold GME, take as much from the bads as you can. Not financial advice. None of this video should be construed as financial advice, but we do want to give this DD a fair shake. The players, the goods, BlackRock, Ryan Cohen, RCV, the government, the banks and other affiliates, the bads, Citadel and its network of corrupt individuals and institutions, the Apley, that's you, good shills, I see you, bad shills, I pity you. I want to be clear about what they mean by goods, bads, apes, good shills, and bad shills. Goods are institutions who oppose Citadel in this war game. Let's go down and just read this headline here. Their goals are not the same goals as ape goals. They're not trying to help us squeeze or go to the moon. This I cannot agree with more. Right? If you are taking this DD at face value, just remember that even though there are other people in this battle that may have more money than you, they're not on your side. You had just happened to be in the battlefield's way. Bads are Citadel and everyone else helping them. Apes, we are our own thing, right? We have talked about how in the market there have been bears and bulls that react accordingly, but now there are apes. Bad shills, the one we know and hate, they work for Kenny and or other agents of chaos. There are ones that we can help identify by being nice to one another. Good shills, we're used to thinking that all shills are bad and working for Citadel, but that's almost certainly not true. With this much at stake, both goods and bads are at war to control the narratives that guide and bind the ape community. In that opinion, they're doing an amazing job. Key point. No battle plan survives contact with the enemy, and that is true throughout this narrative. Kenny had a plan that got disrupted, and everything since has been a back and forth game between Citadel and everyone else. Reese Beats running for the mayor of Philadelphia. So once again, we are going to celebrate with him if he wins. Democracy at work here. I wish I could share the research with you, but I'm not sure how to or even if I should. Okay, please do share your research. I'm not sure if this is halfway through like a biography. Like, I wish I could share my life story with you. What am I reading if it's not the biography here? The goals: BlackRock, destroy Kenny G. The government, save itself. Makes sense. Sometimes that's all we can do when you think about it. Banks leech off the government. Other affiliates press into service. Baby sharks hunting for scraps. Ryan Cohen be the first CEO to save a company by making its customers into millionaires and himself into the first trillionaire, right? Or something close to it. Because at the end of the day, right, we are playing around with a lot of different incentives. And I love how this DD is broken down, right? You want to be able to make sure that your incentives are in play before you start making any kind of conjecture. Because if you build off speculation, you need to be able to understand these are humans in the game, right? As much as we want to put labels on them, still human beings who have very clear risk-reward decision-making processes. Forget the new Amazon, Cohen, and GameStop are about to be the new Jobs and Apple. Okay. Apes get rich and make friends trying. Hey, friendship, that's the main goal here. Background, here's a basic timeline that they're working with, okay? We've covered basically the incomprehensive timelines of the squeeze before. We're just gonna speed through them right here, laying it out for a group of people to evaluate on their own. It looks like we have a super chat war going on here. 2017 to 2019. Kenny G is the alpha psychopath, and despite all attempts to shut down Too Big to Fail after 2008, he figured out a way to do it again. Kenny G lays the groundwork for the greatest Ponzi schemes of all time, taking advantage of the friendly regulatory environment to bend, break, and change rules to let him execute his plan. He spots his prey, recruits a snake in the grass, and waits for that sweet foie gras to roll in. September 2019, Catalyst 1. DFE posts his first YOLO to Wall Street Bets and starts talking about his position in GameStop. For the people who are uninitialized, he was a person that started posting his position, just how much money he made, unrealized gains, and how much money he might have lost in unrealized losses every day or so, using the YOLO mantra, which is you only live once, to brand it as I'm putting a lot of money into the stock that doesn't have a very positive outlook because you only live once. This would not concern Kenny G one bit. At this point, I don't think they abnormally overshorted the stock. The plan is already in place and one retail investor can't stop it. This is the one man in front of a bunch of tanks scenario, right? There is machinery that is too strong for one man to cover, and yet he was able to inspire an entire movement. However, if we're able to assume the goods have shills watching Wall Street Bets, then some junior analyst somewhere was probably tasked with looking to see if this diamond-handed retail investor was onto something. This might have been the SEC, a bank, or a rival hedge fund. Honestly, I bet a lot of people trolling him were good shills trying to test his resolve and get him to reveal as much information about his thinking and position as possible. October, November 2019. Back to the analysts, we should assume that anything we can see, they can see better. And so suddenly everyone knows Kenny has overshorted GME. This doesn't raise concerns among the goods either because they assume Citadel will always win against a retail investor. However, as analysts dig deeper, they find out what we know now: Citadel has effed everyone. Word spread fast. Emergency meetings are held at nearly every major financial institution. How can we mitigate our risk in this scenario? They all come to the same conclusion. In the words of Velma Kelly, no, we can't do it alone. As major institutional shareholder of real GME shares, BlackRock is cornered and probably paranoid since Kenny G has already pwned them recently. So I want to be able to extrapolate on the thoughts that he had about how everyone realizes that they've all been pwned by Citadel. And what that means, here's this little whiteboard here, is that we're looking at Citadel investing into oh, I'm gonna edit this part out too. Sorry, that's a little distracting.
Okay, sorry.
All good, all good. But thank you, I appreciate it. Off the cuff. Okay, let's get rid of this. I wanted to just point out of like why they said that this is going to screw over everyone, but you guys have already read the DD. Just generally, when they say that they are screwing over everyone, they are putting themselves in a precarious situation where if they do end up getting margin called, then they're going to be putting everybody's retirements at risk, everybody's hedge fund investments at risk. It's not really their money at the end of the day. So this is the danger that Kenny G has put almost everyone in the financial markets, the markets that you don't have to buy GME or even any of the stocks that Citadel is involved in. When Citadel pulls their positions due to being a margin call or trying to prepare for another short attack, they are going to hurt your stake in companies that you care about. It doesn't have to be GME or AMC. So now we have the alliances taking shape within both the goods and the bads. The government is still under Citadel control at this point, so they have to be staying out of the way. And if you guys wanted to see Citadel contributions to different politicians, that data is publicly available. December to January 2019, setting the rules of engagement. This section details the major players, their motives, and the actions that have taken since January. I think that the election was officially called for Joe Biden. After the election was called for Joe Biden, the goods phoned up their transition team and orchestrated a meeting. They filled the president-elect in on the whole story. They told them the economy was going to melt down, and if they didn't fix it fast, Joe Biden says, do it, but do it quietly. Okay, this is some serious speculation now. This is like the script of some action movie. They can't just prosecute Citadel to end this because Kenny has everyone by the cojones that would shine light on the story, possibly causing market panic. So they decided on a war game, one that would incentivize all parties to stay quiet and compete to the end. Here are the rules. Kenny is F no matter what. He grabbed the wrong, okay, I can't read any of that. Unless he cooperates, he will be prosecuted and his company liquidated. He may be threatened with treason, which is not really a charge you want to catch unless, even if you're rich. If you have been the first time, if it would have been the first time Kenny was worried, remember how he looked and acted during the testimony in February? I think that's been his face since December. Good point. Let's see. Shorts and longs will not be bailed out. I'm keeping one eye on Mavis. Shorts and longs will not be bailed out. They have to fight it in the market, including social media, but there are some specific rules for each side. Rules for the goods. Buy pressure must come from retail, and crucially, they cannot sell. So this is the buy and hold war. Rules for the bads. Citadel gets to keep up its old tricks for as long as it wants, right? Short attacks, layering, spoofing, cycling out FTDs through deep in the money calls. In fact, it is forced to. The shadier their actions, the more diamond hands will bond together into a diamond community. So it's actually a handicap. Good shills can exploit this by slowly leaking accurate information about what's going on to keep forging those diamond hands. So we're wondering how we are able to get this kinds of information. Well, luckily, we have people like Austin sharing information that he has dug up himself, and possibly we have the good shills, the people working on behalf of the good whales, the long whales, that are also feeding us information. Remember, government is a good, meaning they want to win even if it's for their own reasons. Citadel is given an incentive to play along, though, because Ken is still holding everyone's cojones and the market can't be overtly manipulated. So they make him a deal. This is a perfect example of what I mean by the goods are aligned with us but not on our side. Bureaucrats are pragmatic, and frankly, they do not believe retail deserves to get rich or even really be in the market, but diamond hands are forcing their play here. They are not trying to get this thing to 10 million. They are trying to control everything, including the squeeze. In this case, they genuinely believe that they are trying to keep things calm and stable and think that the appointments and regulations we have seen coming out bolster this theory. There's a lot more research here. I'm just trying to get through the data, because now that you guys are starting to understand the perspectives and the actual incentives here. January 22, Catalyst 2, the pandemic. This is where the theory comes together. At this point, I don't think Kenny G has overshorted the stock by an abnormal amount, probably the 112% or so that was being thrown around in January. And the pandemic hit, the government injects unlimited free money into the economy, and word on the street is that retail stores are doomed. Kenny puts 2 to 2 together and sees $1 trillion. With friendly regulators, an orchard of money trees, and the pandemic wiping out companies with large retail footprints, Kenny goes all in and starts printing synthetic shorting like the Fed prints money. Quantitative shorting. Since Kenny is forced to keep playing, he decides just how far he can push rehypothecation, dark pools, and all the other shenanigans revealed in the good DD. He's likely talking about Austin's House of Cards DD. This is what Michael Burry saw. This is a perfect storm. Kenny G was just psychotic enough to exploit it. What do you think a mobster would do if he gave you $200,000 to buy a Lambo and you lost it all betting horses? Kenny G did that to the government and his Wall Street buddies to the tune of billions, and the political and regulatory environment shifted out from under his feet. December 2020, the catalyst, Disupulu, I'm going to talk about Akichen in just a second. Suddenly, in December, Ryan Cohen comes out of retirement and buys 9 million shares of GME, promoting a transformative agenda. We were looking for someone to really take hold, someone who had more sway than just Roaring Kitty, and Ryan Cohen was just that person. So they believe BlackRock recruited Cohen, and they hashed this plan together. That's speculation. BlackRock recruits Ryan Cohen to initiate a friendly takeover of GME. This is speculation. Cohen is the third catalyst to disrupt Kenny's play. This is true. Right, and first orchestrated by longs. The war between goods and bads is on, and the battlefield is now the real shares in circulation. We all know where those are. January 2021 to the present, the proxy war. If you look at everything that has happened with Ryan Cohen and GameStop, something stands out. Every action he has taken to concentrate real shares in the hands of goods and apes. He bought 9 million shares. He has consistently encouraged and signaled to apes that holding is the way. He canceled outstanding share bonuses from, shall we say, sketchy executives, and his ally Kurt Wolf maneuvered the sale of 770,000 shares without having to file an SEC report. All right. All of the guiding DD has been produced and marketed by shills during this time. There is good DD and bad DD guiding us right now. Okay, let me see. Here's some questions here. Why did Burry delete his account? Why are Cohen and GameStop talking to us so much? Why do the forums keep funneling toward the most diamond-headed apes? Last Friday, everything changed. They think that this information in the following posts point to why. The conjecture is that in an ideal world, OCC 004 is the key piece to get into place to redefine the liquidation of failing members. We talked about that in previous DD as well, but we now may be pushing up against the calendar, and RC, GME, and BR may be forced to play their cards rather than wait. So we're getting into a little bit lengthy discussion about 004, which you guys can look on the channel to see a dedicated 004 video. April 2021. This is the present day. Things are ramping up, and how old is Supersonic again, right? Just about 2 weeks. Anyway, the goods funneled us, and like we said, more shills joined us as well. They think the good shills have been winning the war for the apes here. The goods' whole game plan has been disrupted, including weeks of subtle communication. If BlackRock was going to recall their shares in early May, I don't know that they can now. If they margin call Kenny without 003 and 004 in place, the goods lose control of the squeeze. Right now, we're looking for the DTC to actually put these guardians in place to have the squeeze go according to their plans. Now, can we trust them? That was a question that I asked Austin when he was on the show. That's the $1 trillion question. Is the DTC really setting this up so that the squeeze actually plays out in our favor? Have a little bit more about bad shills, and these past 3 weeks is now the final part of this DD. GameStop starts releasing good news regularly, right? We've seen multiple regularly positive catalysts. They started coded message to apes via daily ads. Okay, this is a little bit of speculation, but I can see it. Ryan Cohen shifts the annual meeting to create a 42069 pattern. He did do that. Let's see, bespoke product, several regulations, the stock contains new patterns, the goods start to slowly unravel things in a controlled way, the archegos fall, they contain the fallout, charges start to get filed, whistleblowers announcements increase, apes are getting stoked, right? There is building momentum for GME here. Endgame from the 17th and beyond. Based on their analysis and the good and the bad shilling that's been happening, I think the endgame looks a lot like this. The bads are about to spring a big trap on us. They don't think that's going to be something that we've seen before. Remember, we're playing perhaps the biggest game in the history of the world, trying to get you to paper hand and otherwise give them your money, particularly in launderable assets like crypto. So this DD author thinks crypto is a distraction here, trying to get you to buy into compromised securities, so when the market crashes, you suffer. All right? The goods are trying to warn us about this trap, trying to communicate the story that they're telling in this DD as openly as they can, and trying to manage our expectations about the size of the squeeze. Kenny's endgame is to scam us out of all our shares into complex schemes. Who knows what he's got next? He knows that this is his last game, and he's going to give it all he's got. BlackRock's endgame is to keep the apes hanging on long enough to defeat Kenny. They're cool, saving the world, but they are really motivated by revenge. The government's endgame is to get this out of this mess as cheaply as possible and never let anyone know what really happened. Oops, sorry, LOL. So make sure that you read this DD for a little bit more about the mother of all short squeeze expectations and about how to communicate this DD. I want to be able to make sure that we have a couple more of quotes from Mr. Rogers and a conclusion. I love you, apes. I will be here with you to the moon and back again. So thank you for sitting through this comprehensive DD. Hopefully you got a better understanding of what is at play and the incentives of the players that are playing this game. I appreciate those of you who have gone out and gotten your 2 free stocks on Webull, right? It's a good way to be able to start investing in yourself, and that subscribe button, which is the best way to start joining this financial journey along with me and Professor Meatball. Shout out to the Moon Platoon, the Gorillionaire, and the Meatball, the Space Legend tiers for pressing that join button next to the subscribe button and making this show possible, or heading down to the Patreon and joining me there. Thank you guys for all you do. Check out the links down below, especially the tools that I use for my day-to-day, and we'll see you in the money. You know, this little succulent here? Nature.